Welcome, adventurers. Do you rely on your favorite playlist to get you through a morning workout? Or maybe you need some upbeat tunes to get you through chores? Maybe you simply lack the motivation to murder hobo an entire clan of kobolds. Well, if you have lost your will, the Bard will help you find your murderous way. Welcome to Rebel Then King. Today we are discussing the Bard. Oh, the Bard, the most memed class in the entire game. But is it worthy of all of those jokes? Or is it actually, arguably, one of the best classes you can possibly choose? So what is a bard? Well, a bard is a charisma-based spellcaster who also has some martial and a lot of team buff capabilities. They are trained in simple weapons, plus a lot more, so many so that I have to read off this list. We got the longsword, the rapier, the sap, the short bow, the short sword, and the whip. They have light armor proficiency and 8 hit points per level, and are trained into a number of skills equal to 4 plus their intelligence modifier. There are 4 subclasses. You've got the Maestro, Enigma, the Polymath, and the Martial. So you can already see it's a pretty well-balanced class that sort of straddles the line between spellcasting and martial with some medium defenses and team support. Oh boy, we're going to get into some team support. So bards are full casters with decent martial abilities, but that's not even the greatest thing about them. The greatest thing about the bard is the greatest single action in the entire game, Inspire Courage. Yes, for one action, you get to inspire yourself and your allies, giving you all a +1 status bonus to attack and damage rolls. That is attack and damage. I repeat that because for the first year or two that I played Pathfinder, I think I missed that second part. I guess that's the danger of using Foundry or other virtual tabletops that sort of do some of the math for you. I just wasn't even fully aware of how much the Bard was contributing to my party. That is until I started playing as one myself. I mean, the Bard really powers your party. They've got that feel-good hit of the summer that keeps you going. Or is it the feels good to hit of the summer? They make you hit stuff, okay? Wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it. Here comes the breakdown. Here comes the breakdown. It's time to murder some goblins. All right. Coming back now. Coming back. Okay, for real though, let's break down Inspire Courage and see some of the math behind what it does. First of all, I like to think of it as having a 10% chance of doing something anytime you or an ally makes an attack. That's because you might miss by 1, and then Inspire Courage will take that miss and turn it into a hit. You might also hit, but miss a crit by 1, and then Inspire Courage will take that hit and turn it into a crit. Powerful stuff. So there are 2 numbers on the dice that could be affected by the status bonus. That's 2 and 20. That's 10% chance of doing something. And believe me, this does happen. While playing as a bard on Shave Maddox's Twitch channel, go check that out, I had one encounter where I turned 2 misses into hits and 2 hits into crits in one encounter. Needless to say, we just demolished the enemies, and our GM was kind of just standing there looking very disappointed in his monster's performance. So that +1 to attack isn't always going to come into play because sometimes your team just might be rolling well. The thing is, due to what I had forgotten about earlier and didn't even know existed for 2 years, you still are applying passive damage when that happens due to Inspire Courage. Your team might land 7 or 8 hits on their own, but you are still affecting those hits by adding extra damage for 7 or 8 points of damage. It's fantastic. Oh, and did I say that Inspire Courage is the greatest single action in the game? Because it's not. It's actually Inspire Courage with Lingering Composition. Now, this is a focus spell that is offered to you by the Maestro Muse. And the way it works is when you go to Inspire Courage, you are allowed to make a performance check. If that performance check succeeds or critically succeeds, you get to sustain Inspire Courage for 3 or 4 rounds. That means it keeps going and you don't have to take an action to Inspire Courage for realistically the rest of the encounter. So for one action in the first round of combat, you buff your entire party for realistically the rest of the encounter. Another thing I really love about the Bard is its unique subclass system. And yeah, if you couldn't tell, I really do love the Bard. So you pick a subclass when you begin, of course. There are 4 to choose from. You've got the Maestro Muse, which grants you Lingering Composition. We already talked about that. You have the Enigma Muse, which gives you bardic lore and kind of makes you good at recalling knowledge on everything. You have the Polymath Muse, which lets you use your performance in social situations, and the Warrior Muse, which grants you access to the full list of martial weapons. Now, the cool thing about the Bard is that each time you hit an even character level and gain a class feat, you can take the class feat Multifarious Muse. And what this does is lets you take another muse in addition to the ones you already have. Now, this means that by level 6, you effectively gain every subclass that the class has to offer, and really no other class in the system can do that. So I've talked a lot about Inspire Courage, but it's not the only tune that the Bard has. You can also Inspire Defense, Inspire Resilience, Inspire Competence, which, come on Bard, that sounds a little bit backhanded, right? Competence. But with these other composition cantrips that you can pick up as class feats, you're going to be able to power your party to do just about anything. Also at level 1, all bards come equipped with counter performance. Now this is a focus spell. It's a reaction. You use this reaction when you and your party are the subject of an auditory or visual effect. So basically something screams at you or tries to blind you in some way. The way it works is you make the regular saving throw, but then you also make a performance check, and then you get to use the better of those 2 rolls. And also your party gets to use the better of those 2 rolls. So this means that instead of all being frightened 1 or frightened 2, you might just all be fine. And that is a massive game changer. I initially thought, boy, this won't come up a lot. And it really does. So often, in fact, that I'll shamefully admit that I forget to use it sometimes, but when I have, it really has saved us. Except for that time that I rolled a 1 and a 3. Yeah, that wasn't great. And like the devilishly handsome Pedro Pascal, bards are absolutely dripping with charisma, and everybody wants a piece of that daddy. Yeah, as a bard, you're probably going to be the face of the party, doing most of the talking and using your diplomacy and maybe performance, possibly deception and intimidation in social encounters. Just like in combat, your party is going to turn to you for inspiration. Go get 'em, daddy. So, is there anything bad about the bard? I usually do bad in addition to good, right? Yeah. Well, I don't know. Honestly, with the bard, I don't see much. If I had to nitpick, I would say that light armor proficiency might make it a bit tough to really engage in melee, and might make the warrior muse a bit difficult to pan out in actual character builds. Then again, I got around that by playing as a human. of course, and using versatile heritage, of course, and using that to train into medium armor. Again, check out my bard gameplay on Twitch. I suppose some others also take issue with the occult spell list and whether or not that really fits the intended flavor and role of the bard, but honestly, I think it's fantastic. First of all, it's a cool spell list. You've got some good damage spells, some cool area of effect. Of course, you've got your buffs and your debuffs in there, and even some healing with Soothe. And a lot of the spells have these like sonic or mental properties to them, and I think doing sonic damage or getting in somebody's head makes perfect sense for a character that is supposed to be a singer or poet adventurer. I really like it. So let's wrap this up. Is the bard worthy of all of those jokey memes? Did I just start a daddy bard meme? I kind of hope not, but I kind of hope I did. I mean, look, I think the bard is fantastic. It's got such a great blend of abilities that it realistically probably belongs in every adventuring party. I am loving playing as the bard. I love having full martial abilities while also having full casting abilities. Oh, and being the big team buff as well. Oh, and the face. It is like being 4 characters at once in the best way possible. I mean, yeah, I gotta give the bard a perfect score. It's gonna get 10 out of 10 Hans Zimmer whomp sounds. Great stuff, bard. But does anybody disagree? Do you not like the bard? Do you want to fight about it? I'll fight you about it. And when we fight, I know who I'm gonna have in my corner backing me up and calling the shots. It's Daddy Bard. Of course it's Daddy Bard.